Welcome to what has to be my most ambitious episode yet. I wanted to do an episode all about the partnership between the University of Alaska Anchorage and the University of Alaska Southeast when it comes to the nursing program at UAA. So, I invited two important guests to help me illustrate the steps students should take when considering and finally applying to UAA's nursing school. Tyler McMichael is the academic advisor that works most closely with the nursing students at UAS and UAA, and we were lucky to have him call in to participate in this episode. My other guest is Cece Brenner. She's an instructor for UAA's nursing cohort here in Sitka, as well as one of the instructors for the UAS Certified Nurse Aide program. There was a lot to cover and not a lot of time, but we did our best to make sure listeners knew what they were getting into when considering nursing school. All right, let's get started. Here's Tyler.
Hey, good morning, Katie. Thank you for having me here. My role is a new role that was created recently. My job was created to help bridge that gap between UAS and UAA because we have this relationship between the two colleges where the nursing program is located in UAA, but UAS students want to attend that and have the opportunity to be a part of it without necessarily having to move to Anchorage. And so what I do is I work for the College of Health and have connection with the School of Nursing as a UAA advisor. But then I also work with the students at UAS as a UAS advisor. So I kind of act as this bridge connecting those two campuses, allowing students to have a little bit more access and information coming from UAS and trying to enter into that UAA program.
Thank you, Tyler. The other guest that I have today here in the studio with me is Cece Brenner. Good morning, Cece.
Good morning, Katie.
Can you let the people know a little bit about what your role is between UAS and UAA?
That's a complicated role right now. I am the University of Alaska School of Nursing Assistant Professor here in Sitka, Alaska. But I'm also helping out this semester as the UAS CNA instructor locally.
First, I want us to explore a little bit more the dynamic between UAS and UAA. I want to talk about how this system works that allows students to be able to transfer between these institutions. The short of it is students who are taking classes at UAA, UAF, or UAS are able to transfer their courses between the three universities. So students who are studying at UAS and wanting to continue on to a nursing program at UAA can bring those courses with them. But another thing that's really cool about this dynamic, especially here in Southeast, is that students who are physically located in Southeast are not required to move to Anchorage to participate in the UAA nursing program. So, Tyler, what are some of the sites down here in Southeast where students can do clinicals?
The sites that we have down in Southeast right now are Petersburg, Juneau, Sitka, and Ketchikan.
And when students apply to the nursing program, can they indicate a preference for where they would like to do their clinical studies?
They certainly can. And, I think that is part of the benefit too of, being in Southeast Alaska and having an opportunity to be in the community that you want to serve in and eventually be a part of as a nurse. The caveat that I'll add there, Katie, is that the idea is that you want to apply to the site that you want to invest in, and you get to choose one site. And so for most students, that's not an issue because it's their hometown. It's where they grew up and it's where they want to be. But if you are considering moving or relocating, that would be a big decision because you want to try to be in a place where you're going to be invested and stay long term.
Well, thank you, Tyler. That was very helpful. We're going to pivot a little bit and talk about what it would mean to get started, like pursuing a career in nursing. And one of the ways that I try to help students explore a potential career in healthcare is by encouraging them to participate in the Certified Nurse Aide program at UAS. And Cece, as she mentioned before, is one of our instructors for the CNA program here in Sitka. CNA is an essential part of the healthcare system. Cece, can you tell us a little bit more about what a CNA is and what their role is when it comes to serving the community?
Well, they work with patients and nurses, helping out with patient care. They're very, very important to our community because they're the eyes and ears for nurses, really. They are the ones that are at the bedside all the time and providing day-to-day care for these patients, whereas nurses are just overseeing that care and making sure it gets done. So they're very important.
So a CNA is really building a lot of the relationship between the healthcare provider and the patient to make sure that the patient feels comfortable and cared for. And if there are any issues, the CNA can report it so nothing goes awry.
That's very true.
So when a student is interested in a healthcare career and I say, why not CNA? They usually ask me, well, what would that mean? So Cece, how can a CNA experience help a student decide whether or not a healthcare career like nursing is right for them?
Well, this is a really great program because it's 10 to 13 weeks. It's really an introduction to healthcare. They learn things like terminology, some anatomy and physiology. They work with other interprofessionals, so they get to see and experience other roles in healthcare.
And they also get to do clinicals as well, right?
That is also true. That's the fun part.
So when a student is interested in doing the CNA program, their first step is to connect with an academic advisor at a UAS campus. So we have CNA programs in Juneau, Sitka, and Ketchikan, but there is a lot of legwork in order to get into the program that they need to know beforehand because it can be a timely process. So when a student contacts me, for example, and they say, I want to do the CNA program, my first step is we got to get some paperwork done. So there's forms that they got to sign for the university, for search, where they're going to be doing their clinicals. We need to receive a criminal background check and their vaccine records. And then also we have the students do the AccuPlacer exam to demonstrate strong reading and writing abilities for them to be able to participate in the class. And then once we get all of that in, they're able to register. And that includes high school students. High school students can do the CNA program for dual enrollment. They can graduate with a CNA certification when they graduate from high school and be able to go right into work. So it's a really great opportunity for people of all ages and backgrounds. Aside from that, once the students are in the CNA class, Cece, can you describe the class format and give them a little bit of an idea about how it will function?
Sure. So this class is usually 10 to 13 weeks long. It's super fun. It's intense. We have online coursework, so you'll do all of your textbook stuff and learning at home on your own time. We usually do a weekly unit, and then we attend lab once a week, usually in the evenings for 3 hours. And we practice skills such as applying knee-high stockings, assisting to ambulate with transfer belts, assisting with the use of a bedpan, cleaning dentures, counting and recording pulse and respirations, dressing clients, feeding clients who can't feed themselves, giving baths, and it just goes on. It's fun.
And when you guys are practicing these skills, who are you practicing them on?
I said it's fun. That's the fun part. We practice on each other.
So that means that you guys are in the nursing lab and you're brushing each other's teeth?
That is very true. And feeding each other.
I'm sure it's a silly environment for a little bit there, too.
It does take a little getting used to touching each other and helping each other do things that we normally do for ourselves every day.
So that kind of leads me into my next point. How does the CNA experience help students recognize whether a healthcare career is right for them? You mentioned that people have to get used to touching each other or touching other people and caring for them in times when they're a lot more vulnerable than they would be if they were healthy. So how do you coach students through that adjustment?
Lots of practice. You know, as time goes on, they get a little bit more comfortable working with each other because in the beginning of the class, we're all strangers to one another. And within just a few short weeks working with each other, and they learn to accept that they have to know this knowledge in order to get through the course. And it just becomes part of their daily routine. And they get used to touching each other. And by the end of the 10 or 13 weeks, they're all best friends for life.
Once students have completed the CNA program, they can consider continuing their education with UAS and UAA. Tyler, once a student decides that they're ready to go to nursing school, what is their first step?
Their first step would be getting in touch with their advisor. After meeting with an advisor, they'll definitely choosing one of our pre-nursing routes at UAS. And there's two really obvious ones. We have our pre-nursing certificate and then our Associates of Applied Science and Health Science.
And when students pursue those degrees through UAS, they're able to make sure that they address the prerequisites they must complete before they can apply to nursing school. Tyler, what are some classes that the students need to finish or need to pass with, strong grades, strong GPA before they can apply to the nursing program?
Our pre-nursing certificates and core classes have always addressed not just UAA's pre-nursing core classes, but a universal standard of what pre-nursing classes look like. So it's also great for students that aren't fully sure if they're going to be committed in Alaska or not. But those core classes that students are going to be looking at are your anatomy and physiology 1 and 2, your lifespan development, your microbiology, and not just science classes like that, but also some GER type classes like a math class, a couple writing classes, your 100 and 200 level, and then a communications class. Those are going to make up pretty much the core group of what pre-nursing is looking at.
How do students apply to nursing school once they've completed these prerequisites?
Really you want to start that process, Katie, before all your prereqs are done. I would say about a year out, you'll want to start that preparation for applying to nursing school. Some sites are only every other year. Some sites are every year in Southeast. And so it's important that you have everything together when the application deadline comes around. Some of the first steps you're going to want to take is applying to UAA. Apply to their nursing program and be admitted as a nursing pre-major. And you don't have to drop your majors from UAS. You don't have to change anything at UAS. You can just have another admitted status at UAA.
That's right. So students can pursue 2 degrees at the same time in Alaska at UAA and UAS. It really allows for a smoother transition.
Yeah. The next step would be that you're going to want to create a nursing CAS profile, CAS. That is going to be linked on their Associates of Applied Science and Nursing website. So if you just go to UAA and search up their Associates in Nursing, there will be a link there that shows you how to go to Nursingcast and create a profile on there. And without getting into too much detail, Katie, because we don't have the time, it's just a new automated system that allows students to create a profile and have a live portal into their application for the School of Nursing. So they get to upload documents and go through the processes online through this portal. And it does make for a smoother, better experience. Creating a nursing CAS profile would be another big step that students would want to take before they're done with their prereqs.
Once they've created the CAS portal and they're able to keep track of their application status, what are some checkpoints that they need to be able to check off in terms of their application? I know that there's some exams that they need to take, and I think there's an interview as well. What else?
Yes. So the nice part about that nursing CAS system is that it's going to include all of these checkpoints for a student. So they get to see in real time what's being completed and what they have left. There'll also be a place for you to upload your TEAS exam, the TEAS, and that is going to be the exam that you take. It's a general education test that's going to cover some science and math, and a lot of the stuff covered on the TEAS is going to be what you went through in those core classes we spoke about, biology and chemistry and things. And so you're going to want to make sure that you have prepared for that test and have done well on it. They do take that score into consideration. Ideally, you're going to be uploading that score and have that done at the same time that you'll be uploading your prereqs and the rest of your classes in there. The other thing that you mentioned is that there's going to be a CURA assessment. It's just like an interview. And what I want to communicate to students that might be a little bit nervous about that, because nobody is really excited about interviews. I think they tend to make us a little nervous. But the point of the CURA assessment is actually to broaden the scope for what the School of Nursing would consider good applicants. For so long, it has just been a numbers game, crunching the GPA, crunching the TEAS exam, just trying to do the best on paper. And some students, as you know, Katie, and as you know as well, CC, there's plenty of people and students that have great potential in the healthcare field. They might be a single mom with kids, and they just don't have the time like a traditional student to spend, 8-10 hours a day on their schoolwork, but they would make great nurses. And so that KIRA assessment is designed to help the School of Nursing reach students that might not have the best test scores, might not have the best GPA, but through an interview process, show that they would make really good nurses. They have the right attitude and the right determination.
You're speaking to a lot of points that I kind of want to bring Cece in on. Cece, you once told me that it takes a village to raise a nurse, and I think that is just a very important thing to keep in mind for future nursing students. Could you elaborate on what you meant by that?
So really what I meant by that is it takes a lot of sacrificing. Things that you normally have in your everyday life, financially, emotionally. Family members are really going to have to step up and maybe provide more support or take on other roles in the family. I know for me, when I was going through nursing school, I was a parent, and if it wasn't for my family and friends, I certainly wouldn't have been able to succeed and have the successful career that I've had today.
So if you guys who are listening take anything away from our episode today, understand that there's a lot of preparation that goes into the decision to become a nurse, and there's a lot of resources out there to help you with that transition. And that's all the time we had. If you'd like to know more about the application process for nursing school, you can find Tyler's information on the UAS website, uas.alaska.edu. or email sitka.advising@alaska.edu. We'll make sure you get your questions answered. The same goes for the CNA program. On the next episode, I'm going to talk about a wonderful program for high school students, dual enrollment. Stay tuned to find out how you, or a high school student you care about, can earn college credits while still in high school at a fraction of the cost. Until next time, I'm Katie Sill. Bye.